The rush is exhilarating. And you never forget how good, quote unquote good, because really it's destructive. You never forget how good it felt. And then in your mind, in the addiction, you want to achieve that pleasure over and over and over again. And hence, you live a life in that cycle of sex addiction, preoccupation, obsession, compulsion, despair. Hey guys, I'm behavioral health and sex addiction recovery coach Rob Lopicola, and I wanted to talk with you today if you are hopelessly addicted to sex. Sex addiction is a behavioral addiction, and it lives in the mind, it lives in your thoughts. And sex addiction is an incredibly difficult addiction to break. It's a cycle of preoccupation, obsession, compulsion, and despair. This cycle continues your whole life unless you break the cycle, change your mindset, change how you think, change your perception of your addiction, and then you'll have an opportunity to experience life healthy and thriving, experiencing healthy sexual expression free from shame, guilt, and isolation. Sex addiction is one of those addictions that we don't talk about. We don't talk about sex addiction because there's so much judgment and shame around this addiction. The World Health Organization, they classify it as a mental health disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder when it comes to your sexual behaviors. And sex addiction is not only an addiction to sex, it is an addiction to certain sexual behaviors that give you the fix. It's as if you're getting high, you're getting intoxicated with certain sexual behaviors. And in a sense, you are. Your brain releases massive amounts of dopamine when you experience certain sexual behaviors. And that dopamine, in essence, becomes what you get addicted to without you knowing that's what you're getting addicted to. To you, it is those compulsive sexual behaviors, but in your mind, you're addicted to the dopamine. So if you're hopelessly addicted to sex, you have tried over and over again for years, maybe decades, to challenge yourself and no longer act out in certain sexual behaviors, or limit it just to weekends, or you've deleted the apps of Scruff or Tinder or Bumble or Grindr. You've deleted the app and promised, I'm never doing it again. And within hours, you download the app and again, you're hunting for whether it's companionship or a date to save you from your loneliness, or you're hunting for sex because you believe it is a need to make you feel better. In essence, compulsive sexual behavior is about escaping your own trauma, your own feelings, your own pain, your own loneliness, your own poor self-image, your self-deprecation, how you talk down to yourself. You live life, in essence, feeling inferior, insecure, not liking yourself, but you wear the mask of confidence. You wear the mask that you got it together. But in the shadows, in the secret life you live, you're filled with shame and guilt, possibly regret, remorse, and you exist in the cycle of sex addiction. Preoccupation is you think about it. I'm going to think about going on Grindr. I'm thinking about the sex club. I'm thinking of going to the strip club. I'm thinking about getting a prostitute. Then you obsess. Once you start thinking about it, you obsessively think about it. Really starts to take over your mind. It takes over your day. It takes over your energy. You're not functioning anymore at work or with your family or friends, whatever you're doing. When that obsession kicks in, you're just not present. And then you act on it. You get into the compulsion that once you start, you're unable to stop. And then after a period of time, whether it's hours, days, sometimes a week or two, then you get into despair. And when you're in despair, that's when you feel hopeless. That's when you feel self-hatred, self-judgment. You don't like yourself. You feel significantly inferior. You're exhausted mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and perhaps physically. And if you're addicted to methamphetamine, which heightens the pleasure senses in the brain when it comes to sexual behavior, there is the scene called the chemsex scene. It's a scene that involves methamphetamine and sex. The combination of the two, boy, does that release massive amounts of dopamine in the brain. The combination of methamphetamine and sexual behavior, massive amounts of dopamine. The rush is exhilarating, and you never forget how good, quote unquote good, because really it's destructive, you never forget how good it felt. And then in your mind, in the addiction, you want to achieve that pleasure over and over and over again. And hence, you live a life in that cycle of sex addiction, preoccupation, obsession, compulsion, despair. But it all starts with a thought. And I've learned, and I educate my clients to understand, you're not responsible for your first thought, but you are responsible with what you do with that thought. Because you want to be able to halt your active sex addiction in the preoccupation phase, when you start thinking about it. And you have to learn, practice, apply, and master strategies that when you're in the preoccupation phase of the cycle, you're able to freeze what'll happen after that. You freeze the addiction on some level. You adopt some strategies where once you start thinking about it, you're able to change what you're looking at, change what you're thinking about. Remember, in life, you're going where you're looking. Wherever you're looking, that's where you're going. So you want to be careful where you're looking. And what you're thinking about, in essence, is what you're going to be looking at. And when you change and transform your life, and you don't want to do these behaviors anymore, you want to escape the grip of sex addiction, well, don't look at escaping sex addiction, because if you're looking at that, that's still where you're going to go. You're getting in a fight. You're going to be negotiating and fighting your sex addiction. That's not the solution. The solution is embracing that part of you that is experiencing the addiction. The subpersonality, so to speak, the part of you that persuades you and convinces you to act out in your compulsive sexual behaviors. That part of you really is here to protect you and nurture you. I mean, how can you picture a destructive addiction to be here to protect you? How is that even possible? Very simple. The reason why you have experienced the progressive nature of addiction is in the early stages, maybe when you were young, 15, 18, 12 years old, you've discovered when you act out in those behaviors, you feel good. In essence, you don't feel good. Deep down inside, you don't feel good. You don't like life. You don't like yourself. You have trauma from pain that you experience, maybe abandonment or rejection. Maybe you felt lonely as a kid. That's possible. Childhood trauma, in essence, for most addicts, that's where it begins, from childhood trauma. So, deep down inside, you have this trauma, you have this pain. And when it comes up, kind of like the iceberg, you know when you see an iceberg in the ocean, you have a little bit above sea level, but you have a majority of it below sea level? All that you know really about yourself is what's above sea level, just a little bit. But all that stuff beneath sea level is what you're dealing with on a regular basis, unbeknownst to you, in the subconscious, deep down inside. When that stuff comes up, you don't have the coping skills to deal with that. You don't have the coping skills to deal with that. But when that comes up, it expresses itself as urges and cravings. It's not an urge or craving, but it feels that way. You get anxious. You feel lonely. You feel itchy in your own skin. You don't feel centered, peaceful. You have anxiety. You're experiencing feelings you don't like. So it seems like it's an urge or craving to go and do what'll make you feel good. And then that part of you that wants you to feel good persuades you, convinces you through your thinking to go and act out in those compulsive behaviors that ultimately are destructive. You've learned, I do feel good when I do that. And you believe to some degree it's going to give you what you need to feel good. But it's a lie. It's an illusion. See, the addiction within you believes, that's why it persuades you to go act out. It believes doing that you're going to feel good. So you do it again and again, and then you promise you won't. Then you do it again. Then you promise you won't. Then you do it again. You're living in an illusion. And you're having difficulty breaking the spell, if you will, of that illusion. It's an illusion because when you're in the desperate phase of the cycle, when you're feeling desperate and lonely and fake, and you feel shame and guilt and regret and remorse, and you make all these promises that you're going to change again. When you're in that phase, that proves that acting out those behaviors doesn't feel good. Maybe it does for the short term, but it destroys your life. Hey guys, if you're struggling and you need to reach me right now, you can text me at 954-861-0740. I want to be a lifeline for you. I want to be a beacon of hope, and I want to help you begin your healing and transformation. So text me right now, 954-861-0740. And I want to close with this. Are you willing, truly, to pay the price of what living in sexually addictive behaviors and methamphetamine, maybe alcohol or other drugs, poppers, amyl nitrate, whatever it is you're doing, are you willing to pay the price of destruction, destroying your life, taking away your sense of self, depleting your connection to nature, to your family, to your friends, to social healthy interactions, to your mental health, your physical health? Are you willing to pay that price? Because if you're willing to pay the price of your life, your dreams, your future, if you're willing to pay that price, then continue down the road of destructive addiction. You have that choice. The choice is yours. Because I've learned, coaching many people, and when I was coached by my coach, Tony, you're not done until you're done. You're not done till you're done. I can't make you done. No one was able to make me done when I lived in addiction. But when you're done, when you had enough, when you are over it, when you truly want to surrender your white flag, you no longer want to fight your addiction. You're ready for change. You're ready to change your mindset, to change how you think. Because you have to change your mindset. You have to change how you think. Basically, you have to change your brain. And your brain can change. That's called neuroplasticity. Your brain can change. You could change everything about you. You could change everything about how you live. Change it all. But you have to be done. You have to be ready. And when you're desperate enough, and when you're hopeless enough, when you are hopelessly addicted to sex, you know on your own, with your mindset you have now, there is no way to change. Because the mindset that brought you here to a point in your life where you're hopeless and desperate is not the same mindset that can fix it. Can't fix you. You have to change your mindset. And you need strategies, techniques. You need a coach, a counselor. You need someone. That's what I do. I coach people who are suffering in their sex addiction or other addictions to change their mindset. I had to learn and practice and master strategies from my coach to change my life. And I want to do it for you. But if you don't want to take me on, you have to take someone on. You have to find a mentor. You find someone who has what you want. You do what they do and you get what they have. And I've talked about this in other videos. More importantly, you find someone who was where you're at now. And then if they have what you want, you do what they do, you'll get what they have. There are strategies and techniques to change your life, but you have to be ready. You have to be done. You have to be willing to go into the unknown. You have to go from the known hell you're living now to the unknown heaven, if you will, of where sobriety or life change will take you. If you want to thrive as a healthy individual, if you want to experience healthy sexual expression for a change, no longer with shame and guilt, regret, isolation, no longer having to look over your shoulder, no longer hating yourself, no longer wearing masks, If you want to change, if you want to transform, if you're done, if you had enough, some call it, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Are you done? Because I can help you. I can help you change your life. Before I help you, I want you to watch something I created. These are 10 steps. It's a 30-minute 10-step strategy session. What do you have to lose? You've probably spent hours hunting for sex and dating on dating apps. Why not invest 30 minutes and watch my 10-step strategy session? These are 10 initial baby steps, if you will, that'll help you to begin healing, to begin taking an honest look at yourself and your sex addiction, understand your sex addiction, and then come to terms with changing and fortifying your life to become a great father, a phenomenal son, a beautiful husband, to become a man you dream to be. You can achieve all of that. Start with my 10-step strategy session. And right after that, once you watch the session, why not set up a complimentary 45-minute phone call, strategy session, consultation, whatever you want to call it, with me. Talk with me about where you're at. Bring the darkness of your sex addiction to the light. Share it with me. I've been there. I hear you. I know the pain. I know the hopelessness of sex addiction. And let me help you. And after that 45-minute strategy session, if you like what we talk about, if you want to venture and invest in yourself on a journey of healing, I'll help direct you of where you need to go. I'm here for you. I hear you. I know your pain. I've been there. And believe me, I never thought it was possible for me to change and transform the way I have by the guidance of my coach, Tony. I hope you watch that session. I hope you set up a strategy call with me. In the meantime, if you resonate with any of this and you're hopelessly addicted to sex, subscribe to my channel. I post a new video every Tuesday. Hit the like button because I want to help as many people as I can. And can you help me with that? All you got to do is hit the like button, maybe leave me a comment, and that's going to help the YouTube algorithm to get me out there, to help more people like you. You know that 2 billion people in our world and over 20 million Americans are struggling with sex addiction, many, many, many millions with methamphetamine addiction, alcoholism, and drug addiction. Let's spread the word that change is possible, not just for me and you, but for anyone lonely and struggling and feeling hopeless in their sex addiction or any addiction. Let me help you. I'm so grateful you were here today, and I look so forward to seeing you again next Tuesday. You be well and have a beautiful, beautiful day.